The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another happy Saturday with the Custody Queens. I'm Sam McBride. I'm here with my favorite blonde, Kristen Holstrom. And today we're going to go through another email show. We love these shows. We love the feedback we get from these shows. And so we're very excited for today. But before we get into it, we are going to do our CQ Talk Box.
And for anyone that doesn't know, the CQ Talk Box is going to be an app coming very soon to you guys. And you can download it, and it's family friendly. Just questions that start great conversations, allows parents to get to know their kids a little bit better. We've created questions for different groups of people, moms, dads, bonus dads, siblings, and it's just a great way to really bond with your family and to ask questions that might not normally come up in everyday conversation.
And it's very fun. Kristen and I do it all the time at the office.
And I love putting people in awkward situations. It's one of my favorite things to do.
And I am Kristen's favorite target.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people just have these cookie cutter responses to things, but I really want to know what's going on in that. What's going on in your soul, in your heart? Like, I don't want some cookie cutter response. I want to know who you are.
I love it. All right, Kristen, are you going to say the first question?
Yeah, this is a great one for Sam.
Okay.
I love these, but it's almost a little too easy if you know Sam, but I'm going to throw it out there. So Sam, how do you express your anger?
Oh, everybody knows this. I shut down completely. Sometimes I get really mad, sometimes I get really quiet, but I think that ultimately the best way I can describe it is my brain is like a microwave. And it can be very effective, but if you leave the popcorn in there too long, it's gonna get burnt out and it's not pretty. So I think, Kristen, how would you describe me?
Yeah, it's like she is being quiet, but every emotion is on her face. So if Sam is angry at you, you are not questioning whether or not Sam is angry with you. Her eyes, her mouth, her head tilts, like, everything about her body and her mannerisms will let you know.
I have no poker face.
Yeah, it's, you know, and I can gauge it so well. Now I can even walk in her room or her office where I can tell that she is upset or angry with something that didn't even involve me. And I can walk in, look in her eyes and be like, okay, I will be back later. And that's just my cue.
I feel really heard with that, though. It's kind of like a wolf pack where they're like checking in. So Kristen will come in my office and then she'll kind of look at me and we'll make eye contact and she'll leave. And I'm like, she knows, she gets it. So it works.
Yeah, Sam says a lot without saying anything at all.
All right, how about you, Kristen?
Yeah, I'm one of two ways. It depends the degree of, you know, is it more of a hurt or is it more of an anger? Because I'm really good at silent treatment as well. I don't think my facial expressions are as informative, but I shut down on some level, and then on another level, it's you'll get a different Kristen, and I am pretty good for the most part at communicating my feelings. So you're either going to get Kristen who wants to talk about it right now, and we are going to work through this, and you're going to hear what I have to say, or you're going to get silent treatment.
I will say though, you have one face expression that is a whole paragraph. If you are talking to Kristen and she thinks what you are saying is BS, then she slightly tilts her head down, looks up at you, and she is smiling, but her jaw is clenched. Then you know, in that moment.
Do it. Let me see it.
In that moment, you know, she's not believing anything out of your mouth. She doesn't even need to respond.
So all future clients out there, if we're ever doing a Zoom or a consult and you see the head tilt with a little clinch to the left, I might be questioning what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
But Kristen will follow up and let you know. She'll let you know if she doesn't believe you. All right. I like this one. I'm very excited to ask Kristen this question. Would you date yourself? If so, why? If no, why?
No.
Didn't skip a beat. Why not?
I am not everybody's cup of tea, and I am a lot. I am very aware of my shortcomings or my quirkiness, but I am a Scorpio, so I have a zinger. My mind goes 1,000 miles all the time. When I shut down, I completely shut down, and I am kind of like a lone wolf. But no, I'm a lot. I think because my brain is always going in so many different directions at a time that I am not very even keel, per se. I can be dramatic. I can be very excitable. I can be chaotic. But I think I would be a lot. And I think that's why my husband and I, for the most part, work so well, because he's much more simpler than I am. And then I'm kind of like the polar opposite.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love my heart and I love my empathy, but I think still on balance, I'm a lot.
Yeah, I disagree with you completely. But anyways.
Well, I appreciate that, Sam. Thank you.
I think that you are a lot, but you are a lot in ways that most people aren't. You are very kind, giving, you are very protective. I say this a lot. I've been saying this a lot to everyone around the office is if Kristen's mad at you, it's not any fun. No one likes that. But if Kristen is on your side and she's defending you, I mean, talk about little sister, big sister. You can just sit back and eat some popcorn. I'm really feeling like popcorn this episode. I don't know, you guys. I need some popcorn. But yeah, I think you're a wonderful person, and I completely disagree with you.
Thank you. We'll have to go back and question all the past people I've dated.
That would be a great show. Kristen's exes.
Yeah, I'm sure Jeremy would have a great
Jeremy
response.
would be very excited about that show.
Oh, he would. He could have a whole show just on who I am. All right, Sam, would you date yourself?
No, absolutely not. Give me a break. I sleep too much. And I'm a workaholic. So no, I would not date myself. I don't think I'm a terrible person or anything. I'm not trying to give myself bad PR out there, but yeah, I'm a lot.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing. I think you're a lot, but I think it's also our personality type. Like, I think that you work way too much. You work way too much. And if I was dating you, I would nip that in the booty. Sam's working on her work-life balance, and we're working on that together for her. And that's a problem that everybody faces, working parents, new moms. And we have a show coming up with one of our own, Brittany, who is a new mom and trying to figure out this world of being a lawyer and a wife and a mom and all of the challenges that come with that. But, it's a personality type. And, Sam, I've said this over the years too, is that Sam, when she loves you with everything. But she's got to work on that work-life balance, and we're together. Her and I are going to get that to a new place next year. I'm going to make her, force her to work less. But when Sam loves you, and when she represents you as a client, and when you're friends with her, it's very similar to how she described me. You can feel it all around you. She's the friend that will call you if you're having a bad day. She's the friend that will, be the first one to congratulate you on an award. And I think, her person, her man is very, very lucky to have her. But I think it's just part of our profession and part of our world. And people that are attorneys generally would never want to date another attorney.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, no.
Could you imagine? I mean, I think of some of these people we work with, and I'm like, you feel how much you argue over a letter. I'm like, God forbid, could you imagine trying to make a holiday schedule together?
I think there needs to be some sort of support group for dating attorneys.
Oh,
I'm sure there is.
I agree. So in a nutshell, neither one of us would date ourselves, but we would date each other.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so now that we've broke the ice, everyone, and we are so excited to bring the CQ Talk Box to you. If you want more information on it, please feel free to call us at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772. You can also find us on Instagram at Custody Queens and Custody Queens on Air. But let's dive into these emails, Sam.
All right, Janet from Covina emailed in. Hey Queens, I recently got married and my spouse wants a divorce after just a few months. What are my rights and how can I protect myself in this situation?
Hey Janet, we love you. Thank you for emailing us. And I am sorry that this was happening after, just a marriage a few months ago. But when you're only married for a few months, there's not a whole lot that you can do to protect your rights. I mean, we'll get into, filling out the paperwork. You obviously want to do that sooner rather than later for obvious reasons. But the court really looks at how long you've been married. I didn't get the info here that there's any kids involved, so we're going to answer accordingly that this is just about, two adults that got married and have a very short-term marriage.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, when you're looking at California and you're looking at divorcing, a lot of times what we are considering is whether things are community property and need to be divided in two, or whether you have separate property. And the longer you're married, the more convoluted that can become, the more complex that can become. So generally speaking, if you have a very short marriage, after a couple of months, you probably don't have a lot of assets. If you acquired an asset, you may need to divide that. And so there can be some level of complexity with it, but the shorter your marriage, probably the less complex it is. And you need to call in. Every case is unique, and sometimes, for every case we say that's not complex, you'd be surprised what a couple people can do in a couple months. So make sure you give us a call to ask about your specific rights for your specific case, but generally speaking, that would be.
Yeah, if you have a marriage less than a year, there's usually the presumption that spousal support would be for a very short time, if at all. For instance, if you have a 3-month marriage, the chances of you getting spousal support are probably not very high. By the time you get the paperwork filed, served, you get a court date, 3 months will likely have already passed. Until you get, to at least years, that's where it becomes an issue with support. Assuming there's no kids, child support's not an issue. Now, Sam, I'm going to throw you a curveball. What happens if Janet were to win the lottery on month number 2?
Well, if she was to win the lottery on month number 2, we would apply California law, which would make her winnings community property if they were acquired during marriage, and so they would be subject to division. So Kristen brings up a great point. Might not be so complex.
Yeah, and the only other thing that comes up fairly often is that people will buy a house in a short period of time. Sometimes it can get more complex where the process of buying the house is started before marriage, then finished after marriage, or there's a refinance from the time you got married, until where you're at. So it can get a little dicey on those issues, but a lot of times when you go into the marriage, more often than not, whatever you owned or acquired prior to marriage is your separate property, and same for the other party. And then you just have to figure out, was there a prenup? How much money was involved? Was money put into retirements? But a marriage of short duration is generally less complex. But Janet, give us a call at 1-800-419-7772. You can also email us. We're happy to talk to you about the situation. And when we say generally, it does not apply to every case. It's just those are a lot of questions that come up. They often come up in the bar exam as well. There's always minutia to all of these calls. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have more information.
All right, I'm going to ask, this one's directly for Kristen. Misty from Simi Valley emailed, "Hey ladies, I have a question for Kristen. Kristen, how do you balance being a mom and your caseload?"
Well, not well most days. I get this question a lot, and it all depends, my mood when I answer or where I'm at in the year. Is it super stressful time? But my answer is I have good days and I have bad days, just like every other parent out there. There are days where I feel like I am killing it and dinner is in the crock pot before I leave for, the office. I'm looking fly. I have a suit. I don't have any stains on me that day. Lunches are made, water bottles are made, homework is done, and I'm like, I could have another child, and you're like, I'm killing this. And my clients are happy and thriving. And then you have days or weeks or sometimes months, to be honest. I'm very transparent about this process, that you feel like you are not doing anything right. You feel like you could be doing more for your clients, that you could be doing more for your employees, that you could be a better wife and absolutely be a better mom. And sometimes those are not days, people. Sometimes they are months. And sometimes they're 7 months of the year. And I've learned to be okay with that. Earlier in my career, I feel like I had a lot more energy and that I was killing it a lot more often. And then I would say, like, the last couple years, adding a third child, Hudson, who we call Bam Bam for reference, he has definitely turned my life upside down for the better. But I have felt like I haven't been killing it, and that I got severe burnout for a couple months, and Sam was able to kind of pick me up and bring me back. And you have to realize it's okay to go through that. You're not going to be killing it every day, people. And when you're killing it at work, you might not be killing it as much as a mom. But guess what? Your kids don't need you to kill it. They need you to be present, they need you to be real, and they need you to be there. And that's all they want from us.
Yeah, and I would just say, there's 24 hours in a day, and a lot of times, especially if you're a mom, you have 26 hours of work. So it's impossible to think that everything is going to be balanced constantly. You just have to do your best.
And it's okay for you to say as a mom, like I was telling Sam the other day, I had a little bit of a sinus infection a couple weeks ago, and I said, the problem is when you're sick as a parent, you don't get the day off. Even if you take the day off from work, you don't get the day off because your kids still need you. And I have to say, like, my husband was so good about, just letting me sleep. I think I was like at a severe exhaustion point where my body was just really telling me, like, you can't take 4 hours off, you have to take 2 days. And Sam was like, you need to stay home. But to answer that question, and even a little bit more, is give yourself grace, be patient with you, rely on your circle, your village, take time to take care of yourself. What's that saying? You have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can put it on anyone else, or you're useless.
Yeah, or like you can't pour from an empty glass.
Yes, exactly. And you rely on your village to tell you when you're not okay. And I've learned to do that. But I also have the most incredible team around me. I think that one of the reasons that I have been successful and that Sam and I have been so successful together is because of the team that we have around us, from our employees to our production team here on the show, to our friends, to our clients, to our opposing counsels. Like, we really have an incredible team that allows us to do this.
I couldn't agree more.
But thanks for the question. I love those mom ones. All right, Sam. David from Santa Monica emailed, "Hello, Custody Queens. I'm feeling exhausted and concerned about the impact of our high conflict divorce on our children. My ex-partner and I can't seem to agree on anything, and it's creating a toxic environment. Are there any alternative dispute resolution methods or strategies that we can explore to reduce conflict and find a more cooperative approach for the sake of our children? Thank you, ladies."
Okay, David, I would say you have probably the same question that almost every family law client has. The unfortunate truth is a lot of times divorce can be very high conflict, and one of the huge major concerns that Kristen and I always have is the impact that it can and often does have on your children. So yes, David, there are other potential strategies and solutions, and that's why it's very important to have an attorney that is not only intricately involved in your case details, but also is creating a custom plan for you. Although a lot of divorce in California is formulaic, we all go through similar things, the truth is you need your own strategy. Sometimes, for example, if you have a high conflict case, you can come to some agreements and not others, and maybe get what we call a partial judgment. That could reduce conflict for a period of time. Certainly mediation and other options like settlements or settlement conferences may be right for you, but in a high conflict case, we don't know. We have to evaluate the judge you're in, the judge you're in front of, the county you're in, the opposing county, the value of your assets or potential interests. And so it is a giant analysis, and we would certainly encourage, if you are feeling that you are deflated, one, you're not alone. This happens in a lot of cases, unfortunately. But two, there is hope, because you have to get to a resolve. Sometimes the resolve is trial, which is the litigation approach, and sometimes you can't avoid that. But I would encourage you to give the Custody Queens a call at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772. And we'd be happy to go through a case plan with you.
Yeah, the only thing to add is there are options, but when you say high conflict, that is usually in direct conflict with an approach like mediation or collaborative divorce. Those are different approaches that are more based on settlement, but the problem is that you both have to agree and be willing to go through that process. And often with high conflict, at least one party being super high conflict, someone is generally not going to agree to take that route, and there's nothing you can do really to force them to. But it's good to have when you have your consult, ask the attorney, what are my options? How do I get from A to Z? Remember that it is a journey. It is not something that's going to happen overnight. But one thing that I really encourage my clients to do is to make sure that they are taking care of themselves and getting therapy to process their emotions, because so much of the conflict that surrounds this process is based on high emotions. What did he do to hurt me? What did she do to hurt me? How can I hurt him back? Well, he cheated on me, so I want this. And all of that is not conducive to settlement. And really, kind of, you nailed it with your question, is the people that suffer the most from that high conflict and those high emotions are the children. And I really don't think that there's much worse out there than having children be drugged through litigation for 7 years. It is so unhealthy. I would never want to take my clients' money for that long, because I don't think that it's healthy for them, their kids, the process. Our goal is to resolve as many of these cases as quickly as we can, so that you are not spending money on us 2 years down the road, but that we're getting you a customized result based on what the most important issues are for you. So I ask my client when I have the consult are there any deal breakers? And what is the most important things to you, so I can focus on those and know when I'm doing my settlement discussions or my negotiations, what can I use to promote settlement? What is the deal breaker for you? Make sure that my client's taking care of themselves, getting therapy. Whenever you're responding to text messages, Our Family Wizard, Talking Parents, ask yourself, how does this help me and how does this hurt me? But if you know it's a high conflict case, then you are aware that this is a lot on your kids, and just being aware is important to the fact that you're not in delusion that this is a high conflict.
And one tip that Kristen and I have for pretty much everyone involved in family law is something that's kind of impossible to accomplish, but you really got to strive for it, which is to take your emotion out of it. And I know that that's almost impossible, but if you can take your emotion out of it for a moment and focus on your rights and what is best for your children, what is your best financial situation or your best financial move, then you will be in a much better place, regardless of if the other side is bringing emotions to the table. A lot of times it's hard to fight with yourself, so to speak. So if they're not getting a lot of pushback, it's possible that you can really mitigate a lot of the stress and impact of divorce, especially on your children.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the conflict too just continues because of how long these cases are drug out in California. There are options with using private judges. That's something that I would encourage anyone to talk to their attorney about. Often you can be seen and heard a lot sooner in those courtrooms than going through the county. But obviously they can be more expensive. There can be hurdles and challenges with that process as well. But a lot of it is just, the average divorce case was 2 years in most counties in Southern California. So I always say to my clients, give me your top 3 things. What are the most important? What are your deal breakers? What are you willing to budge on? Because if I know what's most important, I'm not going to let you spend $60,000 in 2 years fighting over a car that's worth $40,000. That's not healthy to you. It's hostile. It creates conflict. And guess what? Your kids are the innocent victims of that car that's not even worth that money. So and getting into court, and people think that litigation makes it 10 times worse, and often it rips the Band-Aid off. We get orders in place, and that issue is now resolved for the time being. It's the ones that try to settle for 6-8 months. There's no orders. People are still running rogue, and then you're going to court a year later, and you're finally getting orders that you could have had 9 months ago. So, but if you have further questions, we're happy to discuss those, but there are a lot of options. But I love that you are aware that it's high conflict, because so many people are not aware that what they're doing to their children is unnecessary conflict. All right, Christine from Norco, Horsetown. Hi, Christine. How are you? My daughter plays soccer. Actually, both my older kids play soccer at Silver Lakes in Norco, so I am there 4 days a week, maybe 5 or 6. So I love Norco. But hello, Kristen and Sam. I love listening to the show and knowing you guys are my neighbors. Kristen, do you have any recommendations on family-friendly activities or getaways close to our area? Thanks. Can't wait to hear. Oh, Christine. Okay, so we are neighbors to you. There is, I've learned that there's a lot more to do in that area than I thought there was 10 years ago. But it depends. What are you doing? Are you looking for like a quick getaway? I love, there's Tom's Farms. I love going to San Diego. That's kind of my go-to for a staycation. It's not too far. You have the Welch Resort is one of my favorite places to go. It's in Escondido, not too far from the area at all. They have great like 2-3 bedroom villas. They have like 5 or 6 pools and water slides, and it's a super cool place to go for the weekend. It's not super expensive. We'll go to Victoria Gardens if I just want to go walk around and shop. Dos Lagos has really improved as of late. We got some new restaurants. I still go to Orange County for a lot, like the Spectrum, but they have, there is Big Air, which my kids love. You have iPlayology in Dos Lagos, which is one of my faves. My husband will go over and sneak and get a beer at the brewery right next door. But there is a lot to do. I love going down to Temecula. I'll rent a house down there for the weekend. Just a really cool vibe, really cool area. But if you have more questions, feel free to email me at kristen@custodyqueens.com, and I will get some more referrals to you.
All right. Beatrice from La Habra emailed in, my son recently went through a difficult divorce, and unfortunately his ex-spouse has limited contact between my grandchildren and our side of the family. We had a close relationship with the children before the divorce, and we believe it's essential for their well-being to maintain that connection. What are the laws regarding grandparent visitation? Can we seek court intervention to ensure that we can spend time with our grandchildren? Thank you for any guidance you can offer.
Sam, I'm going to let you answer this one like super quick because I have one more question I want to ask you. But this is right up your alley with grandparents' rights.
So with grandparent rights are difficult. They exist. You can petition the court. There are several different statutes that you can petition and be successful in maintaining visitation rights. However, they are, again, very difficult to obtain. It's not impossible. We would recommend that you give us a call so that we can go through a consultation and see if it's a good fit for you. But there is some additional case law that is very specific that gives parents the general right to the care, custody, and control of their children, and that is upheld and taken very seriously in the family law courts. So it's not quite as easy as you would think, but if you think that it is necessary for your family or imperative, we would recommend you giving us a call.
Yeah, and just one other thing to add, if your child was a parent to the grandkids and they are deceased, there's a caveat to that area of the law that is super specific. So if you have a child that's deceased, I would encourage you to call so we can explore those options. But like Sam said, the care, custody, and control, those rights to visitation with the grandkids generally stem through the parents. And the biggest question that I ask anyone that's calling to talk about grandparents' right is what was your pre-existing relationship like at the time the visitation stopped happening? Because that's one of the biggest questions. How often were you seeing your grandkids? How big of a role did you play? Were they living with you and you were taking them to school and taking them to the doctor, and then all of a sudden it just stopped because the parents said you couldn't see them anymore? That's the biggest question that I ask.
All right, and unfortunately, Kristen, we are out
No. I have one more minute, and this question is just for you, Sam. So I want you to answer it in 30 seconds. But this is Nancy from Culver City, and she says, "Hey Queens, I love the show. Sam, I know you're an adrenaline junkie. Is there anything you will draw the line at not doing?"
Yes, absolutely. All locked in. I will not swim with a crocodile. I am petrified of the death spiral, and I've been looking at it at Instagram very late at night, which has given me some very interesting nightmares.
Well, I am really excited that you're not going to try to get me to do that, because that's a hard no for me.
Hard no on a crocodile dive.
All right, everyone, thank you for joining us today and every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. This was so much fun, and it was great to spend our morning with you guys, and I'm so loving this weather right now.
Me too. Remember to give us a call at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-772. If you have any questions, you can also check us out on all social media and streaming platforms.
And remember, let love rule.